Welcome everyone to Necromunda terrain. So I'm not going to call this the columns and walls video because this is the start of a very slippery slope for me, and hopefully you will enjoy my journey into madness. So yes, it is, as I zoom back on my hobby desk, I do have at least one column and walls box. I say at least, mistakes were made. So I have done a short on the channel explaining my descent into madness when I spent over £200 on Necromunda terrain, which was really super easy to do. I still blame Ben from the 2Ps. A few months ago, both 2Ps and 9-inch charge and Henry Still from Coated Paint, we all got together, we had a great Necromunda weekend, and I was firmly bitten by the terrain making bug. I love terrain anyway, always have done, and for me, half of Necromunda is assembling the terrain. So you could have great modular pieces, so you could have your 4 tiles already assembled, and you can have it modular, so yeah, they're already assembled, you just turn it 90 degrees, like one of the pieces, and as long as it still links up with the others on the walkways, or, you know, the hallways, the platforms, whatever you want to call it, that's fine, that works, that's totally fine, but it takes up a lot of space. And there's only so many different combinations you can get. Then alright, you can get another couple of packets of floor tiles, and you can do the same thing again, but once again, it takes up a lot of space. So the floor tiles are a foot square, so imagine a foot square, and you probably go at least a foot tall, because gantries, walkways, other platforms, all that kind of stuff takes up space. So you can glue it all down and make it modular, and that's fine. But what I personally want to do is, I want to use those tiles, and all the wall sections are just going to clip into place, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. But first, I will unbox this and show you what you get in the box. So, it is a girthy box. It is pretty deep. And the instructions are fairly helpful, as well as they should be. So there's lots of columns and wall sections. So columns are the squares, walls are the elongated pieces, and it shows you where on the board the columns can clip into and where the walls can slide into, and it shows you a few examples if you have stairs as well, which you're gonna get stairs, aren't you? It is pretty cool, which that's a video for another day. So it does give you some examples of how they slot in, and they do slot in, so you can see some of the pipes there as well. The only issue is, if you want to make it fully modular, the pieces here that will stick to the side of the columns and walls, so you can adjoin your pipes, they may get in the way of other structures. So you might want to use those fairly sparingly. The water canisters and things like that will attach to the columns in the same manner. If you go too nuts with those, I found it does limit your options with your modular layout, or gives you an excuse to buy more boxes. So yes, the terrain itself is highly detailed, as you expect from Games Workshop. So corrosion, divots, bullet holes, cables, pipes, all the fine stuff you expect to see from Games Workshop. That one there is semi-pristine actually, which is quite unusual for an underhive. And you get several repeats of that, and then you get to one of my favourite sections, which is the doors. And as we get into assembling, I will show you a few conversions as well. So you've got your single door, you've got your double door, but eventually I would like to make a double-heighted double door, huge walls with huge doors. So that means I have to customize them somewhat, so the door still works, because you want the door to still open, right? So the whole idea of these are, you can slide them out of the way and the model can carry on walking through once they've activated the door, because they are real models, right, and real people. But yeah, I still would like, with the double-heighted, double-width door, to still work. So I will try to convert that somehow. I do like the little consoles. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you get loads and loads and loads of parts. Nice, right? But you soon quickly find that they will get used up and they don't cover as much of the board as you would like. So with the columns, you get 6 columns in a box. You get 1 wide wall, which is that one there, and then you get 4 normal walls. 2 wide doors and 2 normal doors. So what does that mean? Well, that means if I get my tile out, so I could do a video on the tiles, but it'd be a very, very short video, because in the tile box you don't have to assemble anything. And I found there was also very little mold lines of anything at all, and certainly nothing that needs to be assembled. So in the box you just get 4 tiles. And these 4 tiles are, as you would imagine, very much like the walls. They have rust sections, they are dimpled, they're impacted, they have been scratched. Highly detailed 4 tiles. So 1, 2, 3, you get the picture. I'm not lying. And these are great. You can use the cardboard straight out of the Necromunda boxes, which is fine, and you can put your columns on top of, and that's brilliant. But what I really like about these, as per the instructions, you can lock in your columns and your wall sections. So just open the box, just to show you your columns and walls. But yes, I've already assembled a few in other boxes. So in the background, I'm bashing things around, rooting through my Necromunda terrain box so far. So they told you your columns can go there. If they go there, they're going to slide around. They don't lock into place, because you can see here there are ridges. These lock into perfectly, so you don't have to glue. So yes, you could spend an hour assembling the terrain before the game even starts. Yes, if these are all fully painted, you might scratch it by assembling terrain, or you can glue it in one big piece. Gluing it in one big piece, like I said, is fine, but it takes a lot of space and there's only so many combinations of the game. And I want to play this game for many, many years to come. Also, not just for Necromunda, I wouldn't mind playing it for a bit of 30k or 40k in the future. I do like my sci-fi skirmish games as well, so Outlands, like the game we've created for ourselves, this would be fantastic for. So I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks and stuff not to do. So straight off the bat, these things, these columns, do not glue the tops in. This is my first piece of advice. Because if you want it to be a single story or even a double story and you want this one on the top, it's better that way around. If you want to stack them, they're better that way around, because that locks into place nicely. Heard a nice little click there? Brilliant. Next I'll get my second story and that locks in lovely. You can feel that? It's tight. And they lock in like that, and less likely to be knocked off. They are pretty rigid. I mean, they are stacked 4 tiles deep at the moment, but that is pretty rigid. That's not going to go anywhere, and you can go 3, 4, 5, how many stories you want with the columns, and they're still pretty damn sturdy. I mean, there are those times when you roll a dice across the table and you go to pick it up or something and you will knock it over. So you may want to magnetize. I'm generally not going to magnetize because I'm going to have literal hundreds of these columns, because I may have overspent. I've got 4 or 5 column boxes. I I think I've got the same number of floor tile sets, so I can definitely have a 3x3 layout. So that's 9 tiles, and a couple of tiles left over for a second story here or there, or I might even cut them up and use them as walkways and things like that. I don't think I'm going to go more than 3x3 in any game, because it does take a long time, especially if you're like me and you're playing Goliath and they've only got like a 4-inch move. It takes a long time to get from one side to the other. I mean, deployment zones change. It's not exactly always your opponent's side of the table, my side of the table, for example. They do vary on the deployments. But I don't want to spend my first 2 turns at least just moving. That gets pretty boring. So 2x2 is acceptable, and that's fine. 2x2 is definitely great for a skirmish game. It gets into the action pretty soon, especially if you're 2 close combat armies. You don't want to spend ages running your gangers up the table. But if you buy 1 column, this is my excuse, and if you want to use this excuse to your other half, why you are buying more than 1 box of columns and walls, tell them it's all Ross's fault, he told me to do it. But if you think about it logically, if you have 4 tiles, which you get in 1 box, and you get 1 box of columns and walls, it's a thick box, you look like you get a lot, but when it comes down to 6 columns on 4 tiles, it doesn't take very long to fill up. Because 4 you could put down on 1 tile in 4 spaces. You could even put 2 on another to make them 2-story columns. But then what are you going to have on the other 3 tiles? So quickly you run out of columns and walls. You do get your wall sections. You get 4 regular sized wall sections. And once again, I recommend not sticking the tops in. So like this, as a top piece, brilliant. And that should not need to be magnetised, so it should slot in quite nicely. Ah, satisfying click. And then they can lock in together like so. So going nowhere, son. And these lock on those little ridges beautifully like that. But once again, you only get 4 wall sections. So you definitely need, even if you're not going crazy like me and buying 3 or 4 tile boxes, you still need, I would say, 4 boxes of columns and walls on a 2x2 tile formation will definitely do you for a very dense board. And even 3x3 is probably going to be enough. So I'm not going to magnetise my stuff. By all means, magnetise your stuff. And if you want to build some sections that are permanently like that, to save you a bit of time every time assembling your terrain before your game, glue them together, that's fine. If you want to magnetise them, that's fine. But you heard the satisfying click of these columns and walls going together. They shouldn't need any more than that, especially with a bit of paint on. They're going to be that little bit tighter again, aren't they? The walls are done. You get obviously your elongated wall section, which you can probably imagine. Once again, do not glue in the top. They pop out quite nicely. And flip over. And these can go there. They can slot in between the 2. These pretty much are your filler. They can go anywhere as per the instructions. So the instructions are pretty clear where these guys can go and clip into place. That's fine. And then you have your doors, which I think are super cool. Look very space hulky. And these just slide up like that. So you can see my dilemma when I have the double heighted wide door. How I want those to come out, because I'll grab so that's your single heighted door, and the door slots in like that. Not an issue, not a problem. If I'm going for a, I'll remove these a second. If I'm going for a double heighted door, Do I attach it like that? With a little bit of modification, get rid of those tabs. So they are that kind of shape, and as you can imagine, then that doesn't slide up because you have a column in the way here, reverse of this, and it won't get past the neck, this piece here, because there's a shoulder there. Obviously that top piece probably won't be there. Anyway, so I need to work out how to modify it so I can still open the door. I mean, by all means I could glue it in place, fantastic. If I do it that way around and get rid of the tabs, will it slide out? Because these will be the other way around. Possibly. So a little bit of forward thinking, a little bit of customization, and hopefully I can get a double heighted, double width door. Because by all means, customize these things. Don't just leave them as standard. Not that I'm saying the kit isn't any good, because the doors are great. The terrain is obviously well thought out because it can all clip together. And it's basically like giant Lego. And who doesn't like Lego, right? So this is my first slip into madness. As I go into the boxes of the terrain sets that you get for Necromunda, piece by piece, I'll be adding stairs to this layout and gantries and walkways. I'll be even unboxing the gang stronghold and adding that to it as well, which is, it can be a standalone piece of terrain. I've painted one up previously for our games at 40k at the local club, and I'll show you tips and tricks on how to customize that as well. They're all interchangeable, they are all great kits. Sector Mechanicus stuff, Sector Imperialis stuff will all fit. The pipes from the different kits as well will fit in, but we'll discuss that as we go. So in each of my videos I will show you how to add on to the next stage, how to customize, improve, or any tips and tricks, such as not gluing the tops of your pillars, for example. And it's mainly future-proofing. So if you want to, oh, I want to buy this kit and add it to my terrain, at least it will still fit. Okay, so this is basic video number 1, columns and walls and tiles. There's no point in doing a video just on these, because that would be about a 30-second video. Cool, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll add another one soon. In the meantime, I've got a lot of sprue that needs clipping and a lot of mould lines that need removing, because 6 columns isn't enough. So I'm starting off with 24 and so I'll go from there. Cheers everyone,